Hi, everybody. I am here with Leo Pugram from Yap, an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Leo is an indigenous tattoo artist from Yap, and we're going to have a little conversation about his life. How you doing today?
Very good.
Good. So, how old are you?
I am 42 years old.
Okay. And how long have you been tattooing for?
I started tattooing since 2010.
2010.
Mhm.
Okay. And why did you become a tattoo artist?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was trying to find jobs and I couldn't. I knew I could draw. So I thought about it. Nobody was doing tattoos on the island. I was like, that would be an easy way for me to make money. And there was nothing they could compare me to. So I was like, even if I mess up, I'll still be the best. So, so I bought my first tattoo kit online, and then I did my first tattoo on myself, and from there I just started tattooing. And I never thought, it would get me here where I am at today, but it just kind of worked its way here.
Well, let's talk about that. So, how did you end up bridging the gap between tattooing in Yap and coming to the United States to tattoo?
Okay, so when I was tattooing, I didn't know anything about our traditional tattoos on Yap. So I was doing mostly, like I did a skull. Like the first tattoo I ever did on myself was a skull, because I knew skulls, roses, scorpions and stuff like that, dragons. So I was into that and I was tattooing scorpions on people. And then my boss, who was an American, told me, I was like, why don't you do traditional tattoos? I was like, oh, we do have traditional tattoos from Yap? And he's like, yeah. So he gave me books on traditional tattoos, like designs and stuff. So I kind of like focused on that. And I noticed like nobody on my island was doing that. Well, actually nobody was doing tattoos, to be honest. But, I started getting focused on that. And then I noticed, like people from Yap started like wanting traditional tattoos, tribal designs and stuff. And then I got in touch with Dean Schubert from Visual Tattoos in California. He came to Yap, he did my back piece, and I had no idea like the back piece was such a popular tattoo that Leo Gilueta had it. I had no idea about that until I got it. It was after I got it, and then I saw a picture of Leo Gilueta, and I saw it was a magazine or something that I saw. And I was like, "Oh, the Godfather of tribal tattoos," and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's my tattoo." Yeah, I mean, it's not mine, but it's like it's the same tattoo that I got. So so I got more interested into it, and then I found out like tattooing on Yap has been lost. It's a practice that's not been done for so many years. So I kind of like focused. I was like, I'm going to try and bring it back. And my boss was telling me the same things, like, why don't you bring it back? Tattooing hasn't been done for so many years. So I did that, and between Dean and I, so I traveled back to the US, to see Dean, and he did my chest piece. And then I actually went to Chicago, and from Chicago I went to, where's he at? Michigan? And I actually met Leo Gilueta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was like really cool to actually meet him. And it was kind of funny because I went there and I was nervous to meet him. And then I met the wife first, and the wife told me that he was nervous to meet me. Because, but when we met, he told me, it's like, oh yeah, I saw this, the back piece tattoo, the traditional Yapese back piece tattoo that he has and I have. He actually saw it on a National Geographic book. Wow. Yeah, that's where he first saw the design. So we became friends, So from there on, I would visit back and forth. And I've noticed like, like traditional tattooing, like traditional designs, tribal has become kind of popular here in the US. And not a lot of people do it. So I've had people who would request me to do guest spots or come here just to tattoo them. So, that's why I've been traveling back and forth from Yap to the US.
Very cool. And so how do you like tattooing in the US?
It's pretty cool. Like, I like it. I do want to do something different. I've been hoping to do something different than tribal designs, but unfortunately, that's what people know me for doing, like, what I tattoo. So everybody that comes in wants a tribal design from me. But
no roses?
No, I've not done any roses. Yeah, still today, which is the thing. When I was started tattooing, I thought, skulls and roses were the first things you're supposed to tattoo, and I did a skull, but never done a rose till
Yeah.
today. Oh no, actually, I did a rose. Yeah, I tattooed a rose. I did, right?
Yeah, you did tattoo a
Yeah,
rose
that
on
was
me. That was last year or a
that was
couple
last
years
year.
ago.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my memory is really bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was my first rose
Yeah.
tattoo. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't really do color tattoo because I'm colorblind. So I kind of stick to tribal designs.
So tell me a little bit more about how you met Dean, because that's how I came to know you. Dean Schubert had posted on social media his experience with going to Yap, and he had posted a picture of the two of you sitting in traditional Yapese clothing and showing off your back pieces. And and I found it really intriguing. Like I was really interested to find out more about someone who did tribal tattoos, who was an indigenous tattooer.
Yeah, so I met Dean through Facebook. He reached out to me and he was telling me that he was coming to Yap, and I have the only tattoo shop in Yap. So he was like, "Can you do a guest spot at your tattoo shop?" And I was like, "Yes, but I don't really have that much tattoo clients, So I knew he was gonna have trouble like getting customers. But he was like, "Yeah, I want to do a guest spot." And then I was like, "Oh, what if you tattoo me? What if I become your, client?" He was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And he asked, like, "What do you want?" I was like, "Oh, I want the traditional Yapese back piece." And he was pretty excited about that. So he came to Yap and we did that. We did it for, I think it was like 8 days, 8 days straight. I forgot how many hours every day. And then after we finished that, we had bitter nut, we drank. And then my dad and my mom, who were really against tattoos, but we're really thankful for Dean because they knew how much I love tattoos. We went to a site in Yap called Mungyol, which is where you showcase your tattoos like 100 years ago, I guess. And we went there, just to take pictures and stuff. And then my dad, Dave, Dean, sell money, which is our Yapese money, like our traditional money, as a show of appreciation and thank you to Dean, and that way, like, it means like he's part of our family. So my dad told us like, "Oh, he's part of our family now, so you got to take care of him whenever he's here." I was like, "Okay, cool, of course." And yeah, so that's how I knew Dean, and then from then on, I was like, I've been loyal to Dean. Whenever Dean says, "Oh, Leia," the first time, my first trip to US was because of Dean. It was a tattoo convention in New Orleans in 2013.
Okay.
And Dean messaged me, and I hate flying. I'm really scared of flying. And Dean messaged like, "Can you come to this tattoo convention in New Orleans?" And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." First time to the US, and I did it. I flew alone, came here, met him, and yeah. So that's how I knew Dean.
Well, that's pretty brave. I mean, just to kind of put everything in perspective, because we're talking about Yap and we're talking about flying to America. First of all, how big is Yap?
I'm not so sure about the size. Actually, to be honest, like I can't tell you. I can Google it, but population-wise, it's like 11,000 people. Yeah.
11,000 people.
Yeah.
And then is there anything that's close to Yap, or is it just
like an island or whatever?
Yeah, what's the closest?
Guam.
Guam.
Most people don't even know Guam because I've noticed that. Guam is like an hour and 30 minutes from Yap, and Guam is 8 hours away from Hawaii.
Okay. An hour and 30 minutes by plane, though.
By
right?
plane. Yeah. Sorry, by plane. Yeah.
So there's nothing like close to Yap that you
No.
can get on a boat and go to.
No. There's nothing.
So was it pretty scary to come to the United States for the first time?
Yeah. Yes, it was. I mean, it was. I mean, first of all, I hate flying, and then there's the other part where I was like, "Shoot, I'm not white." In my head, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm not white. I'm going to America." Like, in my head, it was like, "Oh, white people." Like, that's it, because I've never been here. Like, so in my head, it was like, just white people. So when I was coming over, I was like, I had a full beard, big bushy beard, like thick beard. I shaved it down. I wore long sleeves, cover my tattoos, anything to make me look less suspicious or less threatening to a white person.
Right.
Yeah. So I did all of that just to fly here.
And have you found people to be pretty friendly?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I don't know why I was freaking out. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of scary if you live on an island of 11,000 people and you
Uh-huh.
come to a country of 350 million people. That
Mhm.
would be a little scary, I
Yeah.
think, too. So I can understand that.
Yeah, it was at the airport. I saw people who had more tattoos than I did and thicker, longer beards. I was like, oh, I think I could have been fine with the beard.
And how have you found like meeting American tattoo artists?
Uh, it's nice. Like, it's different. Like, like, because, like I said, like, I'm the only tattoo artist, and yeah, I have nobody to compare myself to. But, I think the work ethics is different for me and you guys. Like, you guys, like, work, like, you guys are, like, super serious. You come in, you get everything ready and stuff. Like, or maybe that's just me being lazy, but I don't do anything until I have a client, like 5 minutes before a client shows up. I come in, I sweep the floor maybe, mop it, and then the client comes in, I was like, hey, what do you want? And if they want a beer, I'll have a beer with them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think maybe, I know some tattoo artists, they do the same thing. They're
Oh,
5 minutes
okay.
before the client shows up. They haven't
Mhm.
drawn anything,
Mhm.
like you. They draw a lot on,
Yeah.
they don't really think about it much. I mean, every artist works differently. But I mean, I suspect kind of island lifestyle means you're not really in a hurry for
No.
anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. I don't think you'll ever find anybody, and yeah, like it's always like on time for work or anything like that. I mean, we do try, but no.
We try. And so, what other kind of things do you do on Yap besides tattoo?
So besides tattooing, I have another business where I fix copiers and printers for the government, and I sell consumables for them, like inks, toners, drums, fusers, and it's kind of expanded to the point where I'm selling office supplies, computers now, and it got into a point where I was selling toilet paper, you know. But I'm not gonna complain, because I'm making a little bit of money out of it. So I do that. I have that small business. I have the tattoo shop, and I co-own a hotel on Yap.
Oh, wow.
Yes, O'Keefe's Waterfront Inn.
Okay.
It's a 5-room hotel, and I'm one of the owners
Oh, wow.
of the hotel.
Okay. And do you guys get a lot of tourism on Yap?
We did before COVID, because Yap is very known for diving, especially because of the manta rays.
Okay.
Yeah, chances are you'll see a manta ray whenever you're on Yap diving. So it's very popular for divers. So mostly our tourists consists of like divers on the island, and yeah. So we do have and since we have only like 5 rooms, we don't have trouble filling them up. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, an island of 11,000 people, it can't be too big.
No.
So you were saying the last time you were here visiting that you don't even have any stoplights there.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't have traffic lights or anything like that. We just have stop signs, which everybody runs for some reason. But yeah, we do have.
So last time you were here visiting the tattoo shop, you told me a story about a guy that came and got tattooed from you, and then he ran off without paying. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, well, actually, I've had a lot of people who've gone off without paying. I've tattooed a lot. A lot of people owes me money from tattooing. We'll talk, and then they'll ask for the price. I'll tell them the price, and of course, I usually tell them to pay up after I'm done tattooing. And I'll do the whole tattoo. I'll finish, and I'll tell them the price. And I was like, "Oh shoot, I didn't bring money with me." And I was like, "What? Why are you here then?" I was like, "I'll pay you tomorrow," and then they just never show up. Yeah.
So do you ever go to their house to collect the money?
Yeah, I did a couple. Yeah, a few I've actually gone because I knew where their houses were at. Yeah, because it's such a small island. I've gone to their houses. Because I've actually called them and it's like, if you're not coming over, I'm coming over. Because I'm struggling. It's like, I need the money. So I would drive over. It's like, you got to pay up.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody must know each other on the island.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a small island.
Yeah, yeah. Very too here in Portland. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I had a discussion with a woman once about tribal tattooing, and she was telling me and she was a white woman, and she was saying to me that there's a lot of discussion online that's where they say white people shouldn't do tribal tattoos. But you've been tattooed. Your tribal tattoo was done by Dean, who is a white person. So can you tell me, how do you feel about white Westerners doing
tribal tattoos? To be honest, I don't care if they do, as long as they know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the story behind it. You know, as long as they know what it means, where it's from, and all that, I'm cool with it. Because Dean did my back. He knew it was a traditional Yapese tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
He knew the meaning and everything. So I was cool with him, you know. And same goes with me tattooing the traditional dolphin tattoos on Americans. Like I posted online, I was like, I would never do the dolphins, the Yapese dolphins, outside of Yap.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was somebody that lived on Yap who I felt like earned it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I felt like they would have known what it was because it's so popular.
Yeah.
But in that case of people tattooing me, like an American tattooing me, like as long as they know what it means, you know, where it's from, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good attitude to have. I mean, I think it's really, one thing I like about tattooing is that nothing we do is original. And, it's all, and it comes from very old culture. So, I mean, tattooing, as far as the West knows, it pretty much originated in the Pacific Islands. I mean, tattooing is obviously as old as humans. The oldest human found frozen in the ice had tattoos, so we don't really know where it started, but it definitely, came to the West through the Pacific Islands. So, like, for me as a tattoo artist in America, it's really like exciting to have a tattoo artist like you come to visit, because it's like you, in my opinion, are like the originator. I mean, even though you're young and you've only been tattooing since 2010, your history of tattooing just goes back hundreds, maybe if not thousands of years.
Well, that's the thing. Like when it comes to tattooing, I feel like stolen identity kind of way. Like, so before I became a tattoo, like the traditional Yapese dolphins that I've been doing so much of here, and the back piece that I had were done by other nearby islands.
Okay.
Close to Yap. And they've been claiming it as their own. And nobody was saying, no, it's not yours, it's Yapese tattoo, because nobody was doing anything about Yapese tattoos. No one was tattooing Yapese tattoos, no one was researching Yapese tattoos.
Yeah.
So when I started, researching about Yapese tattoos, and I found out it was like Yapese tattoos, that's when it was me against them. And they started hating me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I came up, and I was like, oh, shoot. And they was like, oh, this is blah, blah. I don't want to say that. I was like, oh, our tattoo. I was like, no, it's not. I was like, and I got pictures of old Yapese that has them. You have no evidence at all or documentations. And I know the island. I was like, you guys don't have traditional tattoos. So it became a thing where they actually hated me, and the tattoo artists there don't like me. But I don't care, So I'm just happy, I can, I got to like bring it back to Yap, because it got so popular, like the dolphins and the back piece, like Leo Giulietta made the back piece so popular, but nobody knew where it was from.
Right.
Everybody's like, oh, it's Leo Giulietta's design.
Right.
Right. So it was me who started tattooing. I was like, oh no, it's actually from here.
Yeah.
Same goes with the dolphin tattoos, which I've done more than 100, People were wearing them. I even got a guy who said it's for sailors. And I was like, no, it's not. Like for U.S. sailors in the Navy. And I was like, no, it's not. And even the neighboring islands, some of them claimed it. I was like, no, it's not. And I can prove it. We got pictures. We got names for it. They don't. And the thing is, like, they would ask me, oh, so what's the name of it? I was like, I'm not going to tell you the name of it.
Yeah.
Because if I know the name, I know the meaning behind it, and that means that tells you that it's ours and not yours, because you don't know shit about it. You don't know the name or the meaning behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as much as I want to like expand and like reveal to everybody it's ours, say the name and the meaning behind it, I also do not want to do that, just so we can keep it like, as for us Yapese only, because the more people know, the more they can claim.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I'm just going to take your dolphin designs and I'm going to be Yapese. I'm just joking, of course, but well, that's really, I mean, It's really exciting, and I mean, I'm glad that we're talking about this because I've read interviews with Leo Zulueta, and he's talked about this. That he's like, I didn't invent these tattoos. I simply took tribal tattoos and then just sort of westernized them a little bit, made my own designs, and he definitely helped to popularize it.
Yeah, he did.
It's
He actually gave me that book, the National Geographic magazine that he saw it in.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, he gave me that and one of his tattoo machines. And he showed me the book, the magazine. He's like, here, this is where I got the design from. And then it's like, you can have the book.
Well, I think that's really cool that you guys got to meet because you're like, even though you are old, you're from an old culture, you are the newer generation of tattoo artists where, Leo Zulueta is kind of I'm not going to say older generation. He's probably going to see this video and then get mad at me for calling him old, but he's from the previous generation of tattooing, right? So, and I think that it's pretty awesome that, you're able to sort of meet him and he was able to help popularize, tribal tattooing in the West. And then here you are, an actual, indigenous tribal tattooer, and you're able to meet up with him and talk about it. I think that's really cool.
I mean, he's one of the coolest guys I've ever met, like one of the coolest tattoo artists I've ever met. Super, super humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool. Just meeting Leia. Yeah, I mean, when I found out, like, he had the back piece and he was known as the godfather of tribal tattoos,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, I never thought I would actually meet him, to be honest. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it was just like someone that I've actually looked up to. I was like, I hope someday I would get to meet him.
Yeah.
And then it actually happened. So I was like super nervous when I met him. Yeah. But he was like super, super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I thought it when I first saw you on social media with Dean, I remember saying, a Leo tribal tattooer, Leo Zulueta, it's like, wow, what a trip. That's interesting, sort of just, I mean, it's obviously a coincidence, but it's a weird coincidence, but I think that's an interesting coincidence as well.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, my friend Henry Goldfield, he's a close friend of mine and has been a mentor of mine. I never worked for him or anything, but he's just been a close, personal mentor in tattooing. He told me once he was tattooing Leo Zulueta, he said, and that Leo showed him some tattoo designs before he ever put them out there in the world. He showed Henry what he was doing. And Henry, has always been the kind of person that's like, you should go try anything. And Henry told me he saw what Leo was doing and he was like, you should do that. You should go somewhere with that, which I found really interesting because a lot of the old timer tattooers from that era said they didn't understand the tribal tattoos at all. Like I remember reading an interview with a Canadian tattooer who was like, one of my tattooers went down to San Francisco and got this tribal tattoo. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it, but it kind of took over the world.
Yeah, even when I just started tattooing. Like I did a whole bunch of tribal, but that kind of tribal, like the swirly type of tribal, black. Yeah, I did a lot of that. I just knew, that was the only tribal I knew.
Yeah.
Before my boss told me we had traditional tattoos, that was the only tribal I knew.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of those tattoos.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting that tribal tattooing is so popular. I mean, obviously he popularized it, a long time ago, but I find it, as a tattoo artist, intriguing that people really gravitate towards that work. He made it really popular. And obviously when you coming here to tattoo, like everybody wants to get, a Yapese tattoo. And I sometimes just wonder if it just sort of, kind of like maybe calls to our inner self about tattooing, like tattooing. I mean, yes, it's about artwork, but I think a lot of people don't understand that tattooing is a lot about having a mark, right? More than anything. And I feel like maybe there's something about that tribal tattoo that just sort of speaks to that inner need to have a mark on you. That's, more, I don't know, like even the idea, even the concept of tribal sounds deeper.
Yeah.
Like more meaning than say like a Sailor Jerry rose. Per se. I mean, the rose you gave me, I wanted to get it because you're like, I tattoo tribal on everybody. So I'm like, all right, well, let's let's do something different here, right? I mean, plus, you're kind of tired of tattooing the dolphins, aren't you?
Yeah. I've done a lot of those.
So how long have you been in the U.S. this time around?
So I got here in the US in May 14th.
Okay.
And what is it now? Like,
It's June like
yeah, so over a month.
4th, 5th, 6th.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've been here over a month now.
Yeah. And where are you headed to from Portland?
So from here, I'm going to Reno to tattoo some more clients. And then after Reno, I'm going to Eureka, California, see Dean.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then after Dean, I'm going to Chicago, tattoo. I have a few clients there because it's on my way to Homestead, Iowa.
Okay.
And then from Homestead, Iowa, I'll fly back home.
Do you know any tattooers in Reno?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, I do.
Oh,
So
okay.
when we're done with this interview, I'll give you some names and I'll drop some emails to some people
Oh,
so
okay.
they can help host you while you're there. Because I think it's always good to have connections wherever you
yeah.
go, you know.
Mhm.
There's some really good tattooers in Reno. So you've never been there before?
No, never been there.
It's it's an old West town.
Nice.
How long do you plan on staying in the US this time around?
I got to go back because mid-July because we're having this festival on what is it? FSM Expo,
Okay.
which the other three states, because there's four states that makes up Federated States of Micronesia, which is our country. There's Yap, where I'm from, Chuuk, Pohnpei, and Kosrae. And in July, they're having this event called FSM Expo, and all of the states are coming together on Yap to showcase their, because we have different, even though we're like from the same country,
Yeah.
different dances and everything, and I'm supposed to be there tattooing the traditional way.
Oh, so you do traditional tattoos as well?
Yes.
Like hand tap?
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
I do both. Yeah. So I taught myself how to do with the machine and then taught myself how to hand tap.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, Leo, it's been a pleasure having you here at my tattoo studio. I know you're still going to be here for a few more days, so this isn't goodbye, but it's goodbye for our interview. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. It's just been awesome getting to know you first over social media, and then in person. But, you are just, I want to say this, one of the nicest, kindest, most gentle tattooers I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
And also one of the most skilled tattooers I've ever met. I mean, your line work is perfect.
Thank you.
So at some point we'll make a social media posting with some of your tattoos that you did here
Okay.
in the shop. So.
Well, thanks for always being open and welcoming to me. I can always come here.
Of course.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, we're tattooers, so we're brothers automatically, right?
Exactly.
And any friend of Dean's, Dean, if you're watching this, any friend of Dean's is a friend of mine, 100%.
Yeah, I'm just happy. I know you. Whenever I'm here, it's I know Jason's there. That's it. I know Jason's there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we speak the international language of tattooing.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what matters. So awesome. Well, thank you very much for the interview, Leo.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Jason.
it.